Starting scrappy is better than waiting for perfect, because perfect never arrives, but progress does for those who move. Execution also creates momentum. Action begets action. Once you begin, energy builds, confidence grows. You stop thinking about doing and you start becoming someone who does. You escape the trap of analysis paralysis and enter a state of learning through experience. The fear of failure shrinks because failure becomes part of the process, not a stopping point. Another power of execution is that it reveals who's serious. Everyone talks about goals. Few act on them. The moment you move, you separate yourself from 90% of people who are still just talking. And over time, that gap widens. You get better, faster. You build a body of work, not just a list of intentions. You become someone people can trust because you deliver. People respect execution. Not because it's flashy, but because it's rare. When you focus on execution, you also develop agility. You don't get stuck waiting for the perfect moment. You train yourself to adapt on the fly, to pivot when needed, to stay flexible and responsive. You become resourceful because doing forces you to find solutions, not just identify problems. You become someone who can be counted on by clients, teams, and most importantly, yourself. One of the most powerful habits that separates ordinary people from extraordinary achievers is relentless curiosity and a hunger for learning. It's not just about knowing more facts or collecting certifications. It's about having an insatiable desire to understand, to question, to explore, and to grow continuously. This habit creates a mindset that never settles, never assumes it's enough, and never stops evolving. Curiosity is the spark that ignites innovation and progress. Without it, you remain stuck in the same patterns, doing the same things over and over, expecting different results. But when you cultivate curiosity, you open doors to new ideas, fresh perspectives, and unexpected opportunities. It pushes you to ask deeper questions. Why does this work this way? What if I try this differently? What can I learn from this failure? Relentless learners understand that the world is changing faster than ever. Technologies evolve, markets shift, and industries transform in the blink of an eye. If you want to keep up, you must be willing to learn. Not just once or twice, but every single day. You must make learning a habit, not an event. Reading books, listening to podcasts, attending seminars, or talking to experts aren't just activities, they're investments in your future. This habit requires humility. You must accept that no matter how much you know, there's always more to learn. Sometimes it means admitting you don't have all the answers. Other times, it means being willing to challenge your own beliefs and assumptions. That's uncomfortable. It's easier to cling to what you think you know. But curiosity demands you step outside your comfort zone and embrace the unknown. Relentless curiosity also fuels creativity. When you're genuinely interested in learning, your brain starts making connections between seemingly unrelated ideas. You see patterns others miss. You generate solutions where others see problems. This kind of creative thinking is what drives breakthroughs in business, science, and art. Curiosity turns every experience, success or failure, into a lesson. Moreover, learning sharpens your adaptability. When you approach life as a constant learner, you develop the ability to pivot when things don't go as planned.
Change is the only constant in life. And in the business world, this is no different. Things are always changing. The market changes, technology changes, customers change, and if you don't change with them, you'll be left behind. Resilience is the skill that allows us not only to survive these changes, but to thrive in them. It's about adapting, getting up after a fall, and continuing forward even when the going gets tough. On my journey with Alibaba, we faced countless changes and challenges. There were times when everything seemed to be falling apart. I remember when we first started, and the concept of e-commerce was something totally new. Many people said we were crazy, that it would never work in China. But we persisted. We knew that if we were resilient and kept adapting our approach, we would eventually find a way to make it work. And it did. Resilience isn't just about willpower, it's also about perspective. It's about how you see the challenges you face. If you see them as insurmountable obstacles, you'll be defeated before you even start. But if you see them as opportunities to learn and grow, they become part of your success process. Change can be scary, but it can also be the catalyst for innovation and growth. And resilience isn't a skill you're born with, it's something you develop over time. Each challenge you face and overcome makes you a little stronger, a little more prepared for the next one. It's like a muscle that you strengthen each time you use it. So the next time you encounter an obstacle in your path, see it as an opportunity to build your resilience. And remember, it's not about never falling, but about always getting up. The business world is unpredictable. You never know what might happen tomorrow. There could be an economic crisis, a new competitor, or a change in customer preferences. But if you have resilience, you have the ability to adapt and thrive, no matter what. And this is one of the keys to choosing your future. It's not just about having a plan, it's about being prepared to change the plan when necessary. Resilience is the difference between those who give up in the face of adversity and those who use it as a springboard to something greater. It's about taking the long view and understanding that even if things are difficult now, that's part of the process. And above all, it's about keeping faith in yourself and your vision, even when no one else does.
When people chase success, growth, or mastery, they often think they need to go all in all at once. The world has glamorized the image of intense hustle, sleepless nights, massive to-do lists, and dramatic transformation stories that happen overnight. But the truth is, the most powerful progress rarely looks like a highlight reel. It looks boring. It looks repetitive. It looks slow. And that's why most people ignore the habit that actually works: consistency over intensity. Intensity is seductive. It gives you an adrenaline rush. You feel like you're doing something big. You pull an all-nighter, write 20 pages in one sitting, go to the gym for 3 hours after skipping it for months, or decide to completely overhaul your diet in a single day. For a moment, you feel like a superhero, but that feeling doesn't last. Because intensity is a sprint and life is a marathon, what's harder, yet infinitely more effective, is showing up every day, especially when you don't feel like it. Writing just 1 page a day, reading 10 pages of a book before bed, practicing a skill for 30 minutes every morning, making one sales call, sending one email, choosing one healthy meal instead of junk. These small, seemingly insignificant actions don't get applause, but they build the strongest foundations. Why is consistency more powerful than intensity? Because of compound growth, every small action you repeat begins to stack, not linearly, exponentially. Just like compound interest turns a small amount of money into wealth over time, consistent action turns average effort into exceptional results. It's not glamorous, but it works. The world's best athletes, musicians, entrepreneurs, and thinkers all live by this. They don't rely on massive bursts of motivation, they rely on habits. Consistency also builds identity. Every day you show up, even in a small way, you're casting a vote for the person you want to become. Want to become a writer? Write every day, even for 5 minutes. Want to be fit? Move your body, even if it's just a 10-minute walk. Over time, your mind starts to say, "This is who I am. This is what I do." Meanwhile, intensity often leads to burnout. You give everything in one huge push, then you collapse. You can't sustain it. And because you've built no rhythm, you fall back into old patterns. You start over again and again, each time with a little less belief in yourself. The cycle becomes demoralizing. Consistency is different. It's sustainable. It respects the reality of your life, your energy, your time, your responsibilities. You don't have to wait for a perfect day, a free weekend, or a wave of inspiration. You just commit to small, repeatable actions. And because those actions are doable, they're repeatable. And because they're repeatable, they're transformative. People often underestimate how much progress they can make in a year with consistent effort and overestimate how much they can achieve in a week with intense effort. One small action repeated daily outperforms occasional heroics. Want proof? Look at someone who learned a language in a year by practicing 15 minutes daily. Compare that to someone who studied intensely for 10 hours once a month and gave up. The difference is massive. There's another reason consistency beats intensity. It trains resilience. When you commit to showing up no matter what, you build mental toughness. You learn how to keep going when it's hard, boring, or frustrating. That's a superpower because motivation fades.
One of the biggest mistakes people make is focusing only on short-term gains. Success, especially lasting success, requires long-term vision and patience. When I started Alibaba, I knew we were building something that would take time. We weren't trying to make quick money. We were trying to create something that would have a lasting impact. And that kind of success doesn't happen overnight. It takes years of planning, hard work, and staying committed to the vision. Patience is one of the most underrated qualities in an entrepreneur. Everyone wants fast results, but the truth is, the best things in life take time. If you're constantly looking for shortcuts, you'll never reach your full potential. Success is a marathon, not a sprint. You have to be willing to invest in the long term, even when it feels like you're not making progress in the short term. That's where most people give up. They don't have the patience to see it through. But planning for the long term isn't just about patience. It's also about strategy. You have to know where you're going and have a roadmap to get there. When we started Alibaba, we had a 10-year plan. We knew it would take time to build the platform, gain trust, and grow our user base. But because we had a long-term vision, we were able to stay focused, even when things got tough. If you want to achieve big dreams, you need to be patient and strategic. Focus on building something that lasts, not just something that brings you quick success. What's your long-term vision? And are you willing to stick with it even when the results aren't immediate? The more you achieve, the more you can help others. And isn't that the ultimate goal? To make a difference through what you know and share? The key to surviving and thriving in business isn't about getting everything right all the time. It's about resilience. I learned this the hard way. In the early years of Alibaba, nothing went as planned. We faced setback after setback, from technical challenges to fierce competition. But I quickly realized that perfection wasn't the goal. Progress was. And to make progress, you have to learn to bounce back from failures stronger than before. Many entrepreneurs fall into the trap of perfectionism. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect product, the perfect opportunity. But here's the truth. Perfection doesn't exist. If you spend your life chasing it, you'll miss out on the opportunities right in front of you. In my experience, it's better to fail early and learn from it than to wait for the perfect plan that may never come. Every failure carries a lesson, and that lesson makes you stronger for the next challenge. I often joke that I wasn't supposed to be a CEO. In fact, one of my venture capitalists once told me to step down because I didn't know how to be one. Jack, you should give your CEO job to someone else because you don't know how to be a CEO. But I didn't listen. Later, I realized I was a good CEO because I was a teacher. Being a teacher taught me how to lead with patience, how to adapt, and how to learn from failure without letting it defeat me. That's what resilience is, learning to take a hit and still get back up, stronger and smarter. The world doesn't need more perfectionists. It needs more resilient people, people who are willing to keep going, even when things don't go according to plan. Because believe me, they won't. But that's okay. As long as you're learning from each setback and moving forward, you're on the right track. The key is to focus on growth, not perfection. And that's how you rise, not just despite your failures, but because of them. So next time you fall, don't see it as a failure. See it as a chance to build resilience. Ask yourself, what did I learn? How can I do better next time? If you can answer those questions, you're already on your way to success.